my role with Acannability is the director of hemp initiatives. So anything that comes in on the hemp side is going to come through me. And if I start to see something that looks questionable, I'm the first one to raise the alarm. I think I'm a pretty conservative person, so I'm going to be pretty careful about what it is that people are allowed to say. And as campaigns are built, I certainly will have my toe in there so that I make sure that.
Hey guys, it's Mandy with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials.
And we're live. Hello. And welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining. I can tell that my videos were a little glitchy, so I'm hoping my internet is holding out. I don't know if it's my computer today or what's going on, but if you can hear us, please let us know where you're chiming in from. And if you hear anything that you like or have ever heard anything you like, please subscribe and share and help other people find our content. There's hundreds of hours that we've done with different professionals. So if you're looking to connect with other professionals and businesses on any aspect of the supply chain either going to be using hemp in your products or currently processing and growing hemp yourself, please join or subscribe and share our YouTube channel. And then of course, join our membership. We've got lots of members that are awesome, just like Zev. And so I'm excited about this interview to reintroduce and I guess help share kind of what you're working on, Zev. You've been in this industry for a long time and have brought a lot of value. And so I'm excited also to introduce Lisa. Zev, you guys kind of have a new venture or something you guys are working on and supporting. So I'll hand it over to you. But again, thank you everybody else for joining. And please feel free to chime in for questions. This is open discussion. Lisa has an awesome presentation and something that we really want to hear from you on and gather information. And so chime in, let us know what you're up to. Okay, Zev, I'm going to hand it over to you before I keep chatting.
Great. Thank you, Mandy. And it's a pleasure to be here. You are doing such an amazing job in terms of getting people together, getting the word out there, just generating lots of interest. So again, thank you very much.
Awesome.
As you mentioned, I've been in the industry for 10 years, so I guess that makes me almost a native. Involved in a lot of different entities, a lot of different organizations, helping, really always trying to move the industry forward. And I'm really excited that one of my newest endeavors right now is working with Lisa and a whole other team on Acannability, which focuses on cooperative advertising. And now that a lot of the different parts of the industry are really beginning to get a foothold, they've got their processes together, they're beginning to produce, starting to build their supply chain. I think advertising is in some ways just the next step. And the question is, how do we do it effectively? And that's really what Acannability is about and what Lisa is going to talk about.
Awesome. Okay, so Zev, real quick, talk to me a little bit. You've been in this industry for a long time, but before we hand this over, can you talk to me a little bit about some of the projects you're currently working on? Maybe specifically HIA or with the, your seed. Are you still involved with seeds?
The main thing a few main things I'm dealing with. One is I'm the appointed chair of the HIA Fiber and Herd Council. And that's a group of people in the industry in that sector that are really trying to figure out the best way to move forward. And we're talking with everything from seed producers to growers that are growing specifically for fiber, processors, different ways of processing it, and then manufacturing in terms of, what are we going to do with these products, because there are potentially so many. So I meet monthly with a group of people, about maybe a dozen, really trying to find out what's going on, what's working, what's not working, how can HIA be supportive, and things like that. And the other is, which is kind of a new endeavor, is just recently helping launch a brand new CBD store in Tennessee. And this is for a company that has a bunch of other retail outlets, but it's never done CBD before. So it's a combination of education as well as reaching out to about 45 different manufacturers, getting them to send samples, which has been amazing, and then making recommendations. There's about 230 products that we're recommending for the store. So that's been a really great hands-on experience of talking to manufacturers, what's working for them, what's not, what's new on the, and there's always new things. And I can talk about that also at some point, but just those are the main things that I'm focused on right now.
Well, maybe what we should do is have you back and let's dive into some of these, really get into some depth, because we also are looking to really partner on, putting a map and helping support collaboratively between organizations. And so that's pretty exciting too.
Great.
Okay. Well, yeah. So let's schedule something, Zev, and let's come back and dive into this more, because I think that this marketing piece is something that is so important, and not just, the marketing within our industry, but the awareness as investors and capital is coming in to the challenges that we face within the industry. And I was just saying, like our channel has grown 100% organically because of stipulations, or I don't know what to call it, shadow bans, regulations around using hemp and cannabis in our marketing, or just because our company name has hemp in it. So yeah. So anyways, Lisa, I'd love to hand it over. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Great. Well, thank you. And Mandy, thank you for having me on today. I'm very happy to be here with this great group. So my involvement in the cannabis space started about 5 years ago. I am in Illinois, and that's when Illinois started opening up the medical program to include conditions that were much more common. So people started reaching out to me for advice, knowing that I tended to do things plant-based and holistically. Well, my knowledge of medical marijuana was not that deep. So I started reading everything I could find online, attending conferences in person and online. And the more I learned about it, the more I learned about the history of prohibition, where people were mandated to grow hemp many years ago, why certain people no longer wanted that to happen, and just realized how many lies we were made to believe over the years. And just the lack of information and the misinformation. Yeah, it was really disheartening, to realize you've been brainwashed into believing all these falsehoods. So I just became very passionate about learning as much as I could about the medical part, the industrial part, and just my mind continued to be boggled by all the uses I was finding for hemp, on the industrial side beyond cannabis on the medical side. And during that time, I was also involved with a local media company. So that really helped me to open doors and gave me a platform to host some live educational events. COVID threw a little bit of a wrench in that. But so I've been involved with cannabis, partially on the media side, supporting brands in marketing their products, and especially through educational branded content, because that's something that's very important. And I know it is a struggle for a lot of companies to get that out there. It's hard sometimes to find the outlets that will do that. So my background also, years ago, I worked for investment banks and helped launch new products in very highly regulated segments of the market, both in the US and Europe. So I'm used to jumping through hoops and dealing with some legal challenges. But of course, cannabis and hemp are far beyond that, even with derivative products in the financial markets. So today, what I wanted to do is talk about cooperative advertising. So I'll start by introducing Acannability, which is the venture that Zev and I are working on. So I'm going to first give you an overview of what cooperative advertising is. I'll get into a bit about the history of it and the successes, examples of how it can help the hemp industry grow. And then I want to talk specifically about creative and cost-effective ways that the listeners might be able to do to help build their brand now.
Awesome.
So great. So Acannability is the first member-driven advertising cooperative for the hemp and cannabis industries. And it was created because through a lot of conversations, people were just feeling very frustrated with not being able to advertise in the way they wanted to, and to educate people. People just don't know what it is they're trying to sell. I still hear from people, no, I won't take CBD. It's going to get me high. They don't understand that. So cooperative advertising is when you have people come together to pool their funds to run advertising or marketing campaigns. And so on this slide, of course, everyone remembers the Got Milk campaign, which was hugely successful. That was the California dairy farmers. And Sunkist has actually been around since 1893. So that's a cooperative of citrus growers. And they just were not selling enough oranges. And at some point, it might have been in the 1940s or 50s, they realized a great way to sell more oranges was to push orange juice, because instead of someone having one orange, if they had one glass of juice, that was 3 or 4 oranges that were needed to make that. But then they had to figure out, how do we get people to drink that juice? So the cooperative, which is what they are, decided to launch a campaign telling the public that orange juice is the best drink you can have to start your day. So that just increased sales for all of the citrus growers. All right, we can go on to the next one. And so again, so talking about why an industry cooperative. So if you are out there trying to sell a hemp product, if you're trying to sell a CBD and a lot of people don't understand what it is, or you're trying to sell hemp crude and let people use that in place of petrochemicals in plastics or the building materials. If people don't understand what it is and why it's a superior product, or why they might want to consider it because it's better for the environment, they're not going to pay much attention to your ad, especially if there is a slight premium for the hemp product. So that's why the education is so important. And I don't know who on here is familiar with Philo, but that is an ad placement agency that specializes in the marijuana and hemp space. And one of their SVPs at a talk about a month ago actually said to a room full of brands, you all need to start spending money on basic education. They say, we keep getting your ads for your product, but there are a lot of people seeing those ads that have no idea what that product actually is. And if you don't educate them on the product, your brand ad is not going to help your sales. And one of the things we can get back to later on is Acannability. While it's using pooled funds to educate people on different product categories, we are also continuing to build on the benefits that we're giving to individual members to help them build their brands in various ways, because we understand marketing dollars are tight. And while best practices industry-wide for marketing, it is considered to be spending 7 to 12% of your budget on marketing. That's a big chunk for people in an emerging industry. So it's kind of that chicken and egg thing. We need to spend to educate people, but we don't have the money to do that. So where do we go from here? And that's where the pooled funds, we can really leverage those dollars on the education piece, leaving you to use whatever percentage above that you can allocate to marketing, to focusing on your brand.
Yeah. Lisa, I would just also add in that up until this point, most of the advertising and marketing has been very internal, meaning it's amongst all of us. And now we're at a point where it's time to start advertising to the other 99% of the population, 95%, and letting them understand that these products exist and how they're beneficial and things like that. So really being able to move more into the mainstream and figuring out who can help them do that.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, what we can do, advertising is an art. So it really is a special skill set. So that's where Acannability can step in and really support that. And so we are here to support all segments of the hemp and marijuana industry. And so one of the things that we would ask is that you share your struggles and your pain points with us. If you're trying to sell a product and people aren't understanding it, you can tell us specifically what you're finding those hurdles to be, and then we can create campaigns around that. Chances are, if you are hearing that other people selling the same product are hearing that. And that's what we want to do for you. Okay, we can go on to the next. Oops. Okay, and other things that we are doing is, you know, you're familiar with the Better Business Bureau seal, and some of you with the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Acannability also has a seal. So for anyone producing a product, we have a trusted member seal. And when you become a member of the co-op, you agree to a set of business standards. And that allows you to use the seal just to show that you are, whether you're an environmentally friendly company, if you are producing CBD, that you are adhering at a minimum to your state guidelines. And at some point, we will form a partnership with whether it's ASTM D37 or another group that is really focused on the testing, so we can elevate what we require of members to those standards, so people can trust in a product that has the seal. Because people walk into a store, they walk into a gas station, to a health food store, they're overwhelmed with choices and they don't know what to look at. So we can tell people what a COA is. Make sure you go to the website and that the company has a recent COA. Those are the types of things we want to get out to the public so they know they can trust Acannability. Okay, we can go on to the next slide because I wanted to give you a couple of examples. So when you're talking about hemp building materials, as I referenced earlier, a lot of people do not know that hemp insulation exists. They've never heard of hempcrete. They don't know that there's fluorine. And a lot of people now are very health conscious and they want a healthy home. They might be buying organic cleaning products, and the food they're putting in their bodies, they try, to go for organic products, but they don't understand that a lot of the materials in their house are releasing toxic fumes. So what we can do is we can deliver ads, not only to end users, but through these ad placement agencies, which are kind of like Big Brother, we can target buyers for, supply stores, people, architects, structural engineers, design build firms, contractors. So what we will be doing is delivering bold, provocative ads that capture people's attention. And we're in the process of collecting a lot of really good original content that they will be directed to. So we might have an ad that said, building a new home, looking for materials that won't off gas and release toxic fumes into your home. Try hemp insulation or hemp building products, learn more at. And they'll be directed to Acannability.com, and they'll go to an article that talks about those products. And then on the side of the page, there'll be links to other articles about building products and how hemp is healthy. There might be another one that talks about how hemp is a bioremediator. But all these articles will be written so that the person who is not a hemp expert will understand what this is. And we have opportunities for people to contribute this content. And we want a lot of hyperlinks in here. So people are going off. There might be an article on the Global Hemp Association site or HIA or a scientific journal, because what we want is for people to come in and see, oh my gosh, I thought there was no research. Look, there are dozens of articles, linked to this one piece alone. And we see Acannability as an umbrella organization. So we want to partner with all the existing organizations with website. Project CBD, for example, is a phenomenal resource. Very few people know that it exists. So through the power of pooled resources and us getting ads out there, we can get people to come and look at our article, which might have 4 or 5 links to Project CBD, which is in turn going to lift them up. Okay, and by doing this, by educating people on these building materials, how they're better for their home, that they're naturally fire retardant. That's a concern for a lot of people. Hey, especially in California with the wildfires, is people are rebuilding their homes, targeting ads to people in certain regions that have those realistic fears can really help drive demand. And once we are increasing demand, that allows people to then start growing and producing more of what is needed for those products. Okay, let's go on.
So many questions that I am drumming up as you're talking, so I'm excited about this discussion.
Great, and I'm talking so much, so I'm going to look to Zev to help answer a lot of the questions. All right, so now we have one more on the medical side with the tinctures. So this is small, but this is just an example of we want our ads to be minimal in terms of text, to capture people's attention. So one of the issues that we hear from a lot of marijuana and CBD companies is that people are saying, hey, I want to use it. My doctor's telling me not to. They don't know the effect if it's combined with other medications, or they tell me it's snake oil, or I'm afraid, does it interact? I tried to look it up online. I couldn't get clear answers. So an ad like this will attract the attention of medical professionals. The print is small, but it references the fact that CBD interacts with the cytochrome P450 system. So anyone who's in the CBD space would understand that, and doctors will see that, and it will start to make them think, wait a minute, I prescribe a lot of blood thinners and a lot of blood pressure medication. And the reason people can't take grapefruit juice with that is because of the interaction with the cytochrome P450 system. If CBD does that too, maybe I should actually read this article. And what we want to do is we want to get them in. We want links in those articles to things on PubMed, to other scientific journals, and then for them to click on a link that is a resource guide of CME credits, the continuing education credits that physicians are required to have every year. There are some fabulous programs out there for all different types of medical professionals. And what we want is to raise their awareness of that so they will stop telling patients not to use it. And hopefully even come up to patients and say, you know what, I'm not trained, but I've read some articles that this can really be helpful. Let's find a cannabis nurse or a cannabis pharmacist that you can consult with.
Yeah, and I just want to add in that one of the challenges in this industry is that because of our current regulations or lack of regulation with the FDA, we need to be very, very careful about claims, any kind of claims. So this we know that the Acannability group is definitely being educated around all of that, so that it won't conflict with any of that, but still drive people to learn more.
Yeah, Zev, thank you for that, because the articles that we have in that we are editing now, when I was with the local media company, I edited a lot of those, and we have a special editor in, and we are both going through to make sure there are no unsubstantiated claims made in any of the articles talking about cannabis as a medicine, and anything that is a claim that has been scientifically proven, we are making sure we have a link to that article. Everything is cited in there. And if not, it's, we have the qualifiers in there. Many patients report that. People have shared that they find success, in alleviating symptoms by using this. So we're very careful about that. Thank you, Zeb. Okay, so we can move on then to the next one, because I want to give you some things that you can use now. So when we were talking about cooperative advertising earlier, the examples that I gave were, about the big campaigns, the big co-ops, but on a smaller scale, well, not necessarily smaller, but like Super Bowl and Pepsi, they've done cooperative advertising for years. So that's where they leverage each other to really promote the brand and promote the event. And there are just so many examples where that is done. So if you are a brand, whether you're like a CBD brand, you could partner with retailers. Oh, did you have a question, Mandy?
Someone just walked in, and so I put myself on mute and said hello.
Oh, okay. All right. So it might be like a chain of spas that carries your product. So the two of you can share the cost of doing ads, or you can cross-promote each other on your social media channels. If you have emails or newsletters that go out, you form a partnership with them and agree what that's going to look like so you can support each other's brands. Branded content. There are some sites that are very open to cannabis and hemp branded content. So branded content is something that looks like an article. It can be in print or it can be digital, and you pay to have that content seen. So whether you write it yourself or you pay the media company to write it for you, it will be labeled as an advertisement or branded content or sponsored content. But that's a great way to get out an educational article. And studies have shown that when someone reads an article on a major media site, even if it says sponsored content, they tend to trust it much more than if it's a pure advertisement, because they believe that this media company is behind it. And most of them are actually checking the content to make sure people are not making unsubstantiated claims. But that's a great way to do it. And often this can be very inexpensive. And if you partner with people to do this, you're reducing the cost substantially. So going back to building materials, if you have a company that does hemp cabinets and flooring, and someone else that does insulation, someone else that does hempcrete, you can do articles on healthy homes. And Zev had used the phrase like healthy bodies and healthy homes. So, hey, you could even expand it into CBD if you wanted to, but write an article about these building materials, how they are environmentally friendly, how using hempcrete, and hempwood reduces deforestation. And how if you are in, a really moist climate, that it's naturally, less likely to mold, the fire retardancy. Do those articles and place them on multiple sites. So you're really stretching your advertising dollars that way. And you can have links to all of your sites on there. So it's not as if you have to pick one group that's going to get the traffic from that. And then another way, donations of product. There are so many online auctions for just a wide variety of things, whether it's a school or, the Sierra Club or Breast Cancer Foundation. They are all looking for donations. And often those online auctions stay up for a month, sometimes even more. So for whatever the cost to create your product was, your price of production, for that, you're getting a lot of advertising. And let's say you pick a private school to donate to their auction because a lot of the parents are real estate developers and you want them to know what hempcrete is. You have to figure out how that would work for hempcrete versus CBD. You could give a nice basket of products. And the next one, giveaways and contesting. A lot of media companies are looking for people to give them product for giveaways. A lot of nonprofits are looking for things for their swag bags. So think about what you have in your budget to donate product and what value that's going to give you in terms of marketing and advertising. And where I have giveaways and contesting listed, a subtle difference is giveaways, often you're giving the product to someone and you're getting the promotional value of your product being listed or given to people in their bags. But contesting takes that a step further because you can offer a prize, but a contest is something you can do in partnership with a media company. And Acannability will be offering these starting later this year or in 2023. And you can have a contest where you're giving something away. You can include a few questions in there and email opt-ins or opt-outs. So contesting can be great for lead generation. You could, for example, give away either your product or give away a gift certificate for $100 to a home building store. And in that, you can ask questions. Are you looking to remodel your home in the next 6 to 12 months? Are you looking to build a new home? Are you a design build person or contractor? And then you're capturing their email and that information. So you're getting some warm leads from that. And people have found that to be very successful, and you're building your email list. And something that would be really great for a CBD product, you can promote this also on social. And the way these contests are set up, you can say, for extra entries to win the prize, share on social, tag friends, invite friends. So they're getting more entries and you are getting that out there. And it's a really low cost way to do it. Media companies charge different rates. It might be as low as $350. It could go up, into the thousands, but looking at the options and looking for people, again, to partner with, split that cost. If it's going to cost you $500 to do a contest and you have a CBD tincture, someone else has a balm, someone else has a roll-on or gummies, or even just Like a massage company, you can partner with anyone you want to increase that reach, and then it's going out through everyone's channels.
I like it. And I like that these are alternative from just putting money behind the Google ads or Facebook ads, which is a form of marketing and something that we do and just hasn't been as successful in the CBD and cannabis space. So yeah.
Right. So it's get creative. And if anyone,
I love it.
We'll just go to the last slide quickly. If you want to sign up, we're just on phase 1 of our website. The next phase will be coming. We have some updates coming within the week, and then we'll really be going broad towards the consumer and supply chain audience later this year. But if you click on the or hold your phone up and scan the QR code, you can sign up for our email list, or you can follow us on social and you'll be notified when we are ready for that expansion. You can email me directly, lisa@acannability.com, if you're interested in contributing content or finding out more ways to get involved. But we'd love to hear, if you've had successes and wins with certain ad campaigns or ideas, and you want to throw out there, hey, I'm looking for this type of person to partner with on ad campaigns. Share whatever you'd like. And Mandy, I'm going to let you take it away from here.
I just want to add very briefly that we will also both Lisa and I and a third person, Gabby, will be at the Southern Hemp Expo in Nashville, the middle of next month, and it'll be kind of more of our a launch. Go out and actually meet people face to face, ask these questions, and we're also going to be having our special event on Friday evening, and we'll give you more information about that later.
Yes.
Okay, so how much of this, we spoke about both sides, the industrial applications and the medical side, right? Something that I felt has been really important is the data behind the claims that are being made, right? Just yesterday, I sat in a meeting where somebody threw out some claims that I've heard over and over again that we just know aren't necessarily true, around like, don't need any water, you don't need any pesticides. There's, these things that, we grow 10 tons per acre, and sure, but what about all these in between steps? And so I'm curious from you, how are you going about gathering the data, or what is the recommendation as you bring people into your cooperative that, what type of data do they put behind their claims, or how are you guys going about collecting that data? Because I anticipate like wood and steel and these plastic companies could potentially really come down and say, man, this is a lie. And, we're back to battling false truths that almost create this black eye. And so,
Mandy, I think that's a great question. And my role with Acannability is the director of hemp initiatives. So anything that comes in on the hemp side is going to come through me. And if I start to see something that looks questionable, I'm the first one to raise the alarm. I think I'm a pretty conservative person, so I'm going to be pretty careful about what it is that people are allowed to say. And as campaigns are built, I certainly will have my toe in there so that I make sure that we aren't going off the rails. I suspect that with the success that I expect that we're going to have, we are going to get pushback from competing industries. And my response has always been, when the concrete industry comes at us, it's like, hey guys, you need to be researching how do you incorporate some hemp into your products. So it's not about, pushing back. It's about how do we work together and we all benefit from it.
Okay, so here's a good example. And actually somebody in process management and project management for the military brought this up the other day and said, okay, like hempcrete blocks are made out of hemp and lime. Lime competes, is actually taking from, there's a shortage or a, supply chain issue for lime, which would then butt up against concrete. Right. So there's lots of reasons we could potentially be coming in and butting heads. And so, yeah, this goes back to like the value of the data behind the claims becomes even more impactful, or the way that it's worded. And there were a couple explanations or example that you gave that were fabulous, Lisa, about, how to deliver the message and draw the attention without making a claim that it solves a problem or fixes something or is better than. Yeah, it was a great.
And we're making these claims in the industry. We've been making these claims that hemp, can make 25,000 to 50,000 different products.
Mm-hmm.
While that may be true, the only time that we're going to actually end up becoming, getting on the shelf is if we can produce it at a price that makes sense. And a lot of the products that that hemp is going to replace are very, very inexpensive. So that's going to be an ongoing challenge where education has to go hand in hand. It's like, animal bedding is very inexpensive, but there are real benefits to using hemp for animal bedding. And we need to make that incredibly obvious so that they are willing to pay the premium because they see the added value. So the advertising and the education really do go hand in hand, especially for people outside of our inner circle who don't know much about hemp at all.
So we talked about, go ahead, Lisa.
I was going to say, just to touch on what Zev said, like the pet bedding, if people are just looking at purely from a price point, they're less likely to get that. But if they understand that the same quantity will last longer because of the natural antimicrobial, antibacterial properties, then they can sort of balance that out and the price difference is not as great. And, so many other side benefits with less odor and things like that. So those are the types of messages that we want to get out to open their minds so they will actually look at the products and understand the benefits.
The economics of it, right?
Yes.
Really, it's got to come down to, like you said, this economic piece. Where are they going to put their dollar, and understanding that a little bit more upfront pays off the long run. But yeah, okay. So I'm excited about this. Now, I obviously am really passionate about the industrial applications and scaling the fiber and grain market. Talk to me a little bit about that message. Like, what is that story, or that? What are our consumers really looking for from the industrial side? I've said for a while that, CBD really took off because it's much easier to pull on a heartstring when we're talking about a child's health. Everybody we know is connected to a child somewhere, right? Or their child. Yeah. But not everybody is connected to mold in their home, or plastic pollution, or poor air quality. Like, we're not seeing the impacts face to face. So I'm curious from you guys, what is that message that's going to be that Got Milk campaign, or that Unkissed, or, pork, the other white meat? Yeah.
Well, off the top of my head, I would actually say it's also still health. Now, it has to do with the health of the soil, and we can go through the whole reason on why hemp is beneficial in that way, and the resources that it uses less, not none, but less. I'd say health of the workers, which is a really big thing. Anyone from farm workers to processors to installers who are working with this material, it helps out a lot. And then your home itself, as Lisa has already mentioned a couple times, the idea of off-gassing and sick home syndrome, that kind of thing, is becoming more known, and these directly go toward solving that problem. So it's health all along the way, and that's certainly not something that a lot of these other products can claim.
Right, and you mentioned grain, and you've got the health aspect and the economic aspect, and environmental. As people are looking more at what raising farm animals is doing to our environment, and with the cost of meat skyrocketing and people looking at their cholesterol and wanting to be healthy, we need people to understand how great a food source hemp is. I've been getting it for years. I started ordering it from Canada maybe 12 years ago when I was having trouble finding it here. Now
it wasn't here.
right. And they'd ship it in plain brown packages. Now I buy US grown hemp, but people, when I told them I was getting hemp, they're like, wait, aren't you afraid you'll get arrested getting those packages coming from Canada? So there's still a lot of people still think of it. They don't realize that, hemp as a grain is not, that it's completely legal. It's not going to get you high. It's a really healthy source. You've got the good fats, the protein. And when we think about all the people, that live in food deserts here, hemp is a great nutrition source. We want that shared across, the country for everyone.
Right. If hemp hearts are in Costco, it's got to be okay.
Yes.
In Walmart. They're everywhere. They're okay. Here's something that was really eye-opening to me, though, and I'm sure that both of you can relate to this. I'm working with some incredible students at one of the local universities here. And where I live in Salt Lake, the culture is very conservative, right? I brought hemp hearts and different materials and products in for them to have and try and taste. And one of them wouldn't touch them because he's an athlete and he was scared to death of testing positive.
Oh.
The other one at the end of our meeting said, I cannot believe how almost embarrassed he is that he could have picked up the package and looked to see the value of omega fatty acids and the protein and how digestible it is just based on the package. Said, but I would have never touched it because the word hemp hearts was right on the front. And so that, right, it's everywhere. People see it, people can see it, right? But there's this stigma that's still out there, right? And so it again, like you said, it comes back to what's going to pull on that heartstring to say, wait, it's something else. And I've said for a while, and I'm curious as we're starting to see more of a shift into the focus of manufacturing and, rural development and farm, what this looks like for the industry's growth and awareness around supply chain, especially with COVID and, these continued supply chain buildups that, we're talking about.
An interesting piece of all this is that obviously this whole thing starts at the farm.
Yes.
Grow, whatever kind of hemp or marijuana you're going to grow. And farmers historically have been very conservative. Just the business that they do, they certainly take risks because they play with Mother Nature all the time, but they are a very conservative group. And the fact that they are the first ring in this chain is something I think we can really honor and take advantage of and say to people, listen, if a rural farmer in this small place is willing to grow 100 acres of this, they're not concerned about this or this or this or this. Why would you be? So it's just a way of beginning the conversation with people who we already know are really careful and conservative.
I think what you just said is so important, right? Going back to the focus of our farm. And really, as great as consumer is, we can have all the consumer demand in the world. If our farmers can't grow it and don't want to grow it, we're in trouble too. So it is this, double-edged sword of who we're marketing to. So my question for you, for both of you, and Lisa, I'm really curious about your feedback, is how do we really reach those out of industry groups? Like Zev said, we've talked to ourselves within our small industry for a long time. And how do we really bring, not just concrete companies in, but anybody that's manufacturing or potentially will be manufacturing the material with the material?
Right. And that's where through these ad placement agencies that we're working with, where we can target specific groups. So we want to educate people that are making the decisions. Like I said, we want design build firms to be aware of all these products. We want students in engineering schools and architecture schools. You've got to start young. The earlier you can catch people, the more likely you are to have them integrated into what they are doing, because they're so excited about all their learning. If you have someone who's been doing it 40 years, it's a slightly different perspective. It's like, hey, you want to stay current. People are starting to ask for this. You need to understand the product. And so we will target different groups. But again, it's educating people. And I really like what Zev was saying before. Part of the point is we're not trying to go in and shut down other industries. We're trying to find ways that they can incorporate the products. That supports the farmers. That supports the people at the beginning of the supply chain, and also opens more doors on the consumer end for people already making these products. It's at all levels.
Absolutely. Zev, do you have anything else you want to add?
I'm really excited because it's just we're finally. I mean, we've had to be very patient, but I think we're finally at the point now where the pieces can come together. We have enough supply chain development in several areas that these kind of next steps, I think, are much more realistic, and the opportunity to be able to pool really hard-earned money to be able to get the word out even better is just going to accelerate things even faster. So I'm really excited. I'm glad to be working with the team at Acannability, and certainly appreciate all the work you're doing to help us just let people know that this is even happening.
Yeah. Okay, I have a couple more questions. Is the co-op going to be also focused on regulation or policy that's, limited a lot of the marketing?
That's a great question, because we will not be lobbying, but one of the groups that we want to target with our ads is legislators and other key decision makers, because legislators are being asked to write policy and vote on policy where they don't have much knowledge about it. So we'd like input to hear what people's struggles are, and we will deliver ads targeted to those groups on those, and that is on the industrial product side, because it could be related to environmental legislation they're writing about. The EU has phased out single-use plastics. I think that edict came down within the last few years, and they were given 10 years to phase it out. Well, we need to be doing the same thing here. And in order for them to do that, they need to know that the US can create the products that can replace some of the things that they will ban. And then on the medicinal side, like you said, you had an athlete who was so fearful of trying hemp hearts. This is such a healthy product. The fact that you have athletes that are afraid to have it, or maybe a first responder because they could lose their job.
Or working for the military. Like this,
Yes.
This isn't just the first time it comes up, right? This comes up all the time. And people are even sometimes like, whoa, she talks about hemp. We can't be friends with her.
Right. So part of that
I don't use hemp that they say that they're saying that for.
But part of that is educating key decision makers. We want, C-suite people at companies to change their policies. The drug testing policies, we know most companies are absurd. You can have, all the benzos, opioids, and alcohol you want, but if you have what is supposed to be THC-free CBD, but there are trace amounts, and your company uses super sensitive tests, or you're an athlete and something shows up, you're in trouble. People need to understand that those laws and regulations actually do more harm than good. And that if someone has a machinery factory and someone can't be impaired, you need to do impairment testing, not urine or hair analysis, because that has no determination for the most part on how they're going to perform that day. And so those are the types of things we want to educate people on.
I would also add in that one of my focuses with this is to reach out to the dozen or 24 organizations out there, hemp organizations, that are already doing some really good work, on the legislative side, on the standard sides, on the education, like what you're doing, and partner with them and provide the exact same services to organizations who really need to get their message out, build their membership, and by collaborating, all the same benefits are there, especially because we have a lot of organizations that are doing little pieces of the puzzle that are all important, but the money just doesn't go very far.
We need to raise the tide, right? And I think that's a big thing that comes with marketing, and it's tricky, right? Is if we put a campaign out, it benefits everybody, not just the company that's putting it out. When we're doing an education campaign, and I think that's where this really is about, rising the tides so that we can drive the demand and increase acres and revenue that comes back around. So.
Right. So we see it as a hub and spoke model. We want to partner with everyone. We want to elevate everyone. And that's why we want the links in the articles. And we want people from these associations and all these valuable sites to contribute content. So we're all just driving more traffic to each other.
Awesome. Talk to me real quick about how people get involved. We didn't talk very much about what's cost of involvement. How do people reach you? We scanned the QR code, but will you say it again real quick so that those that maybe weren't on earlier can hear again?
Sure. So to get to the site, you can go to Acannability.com. It's ACANN ability.com. And you could also email me directly, lisa@acannability.com. So the co-op is set up with two different types of memberships. We have the industry memberships for people who are on the plant touching side of things, whether you are a farmer, grower, infuser, producer. And then we have associate memberships for people who are service providers, whether you're an attorney, an accountant, a marketing specialist, an architect, you can join at that level. So if you're an industry member, we are looking for people to contribute 0.75% of their revenue to support the co-op. And so you're supporting the general ad campaigns, and you have some opportunities for brand building through contributing content, being on a panel. If you have a book, it might be our book of the month. We'll be starting a podcast next year. And for the associate members, it's ways for them to really promote their services to people in the industry and offer their support. And they can also come on and do just some member-only webinars that we may have. And we're looking, if you have ideas, if you say, hey, I think Acannability is great, and here's something that you didn't mention that I think would be good for you to do, share your ideas. We want to serve the industry as a whole.
And how do people, I was going to ask that question also, if somebody has an article, right, or if they've got blogs that they're looking to get out, how do they get those to you, and what's the process, if they want to contribute content?
Great. So we do have a form that people can fill out to contribute content. And if you email me, I'll send you that link. I do want to point out, because of Google algorithms, we cannot have the identical article on our site. So we need either someone to do a summary of it or expand upon a portion of it. Just as a professor can put a term paper in, online to see if someone has plagiarized, Google does that and they ding you. And it hurts.
You're saying if the articles were already
if they were already published.
Right. So
yes.
Like for some of the things that I'm contributing, I'm going back to some of the older ones I'm doing, and I'm updating them and modifying them so it's fresh content as well as brand new ones that I am writing right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. We of course have tons of content and a few articles. We're actually also putting blogs out, but specifically around our seed trials. I'd love to get data out and information out around our seed trials. I think it'll be powerful information, especially as we're starting to see a lot of policy being presented around value the seed and the fiber exemption. Where is our industry? And so it'll be exciting.
So we can also target ads to farmers. So if you're looking, to expand the industry so there is more hemp grown to meet the supply as the demand, really increases. People, as you know, they're conservative. They don't want to risk planting something that's not going to work. So seeing the trials and getting that information is very helpful.
Lisa, do you know if we can send an ad to their GPS reader in the tractor? Because that's the kind of technology that a lot of farmers are using now. And now 10 seconds of information from.
Hello. That we need some techie guy out there that's going to be like, yes, we can do this. I got it.
App. Yeah.
Every time someone says something like that, I think, is there anything I do that people don't know about? The tech people, they can track you everywhere.
Yes, especially if they want to. What would you say, and we're just about out of time, but what would you say that the top 5, say, industries or groups or verticals would be that, we would want to be targeting initially in order to move the industry along?
Oh, for the campaigns. Okay, well, you've got both the medicinal and the industrial. So on the medicinal, we want to target medical professionals, doctors, nurses, therapists of all types. We want to target individuals that are going into physical therapy clinics, mental health clinics. And I'm going to let Zev answer for the industrial side.
Sure. So again, it's the big categories, letting people understand that food issues, so anybody that's out there, health food stores, individuals who buy these kind of products, certainly the whole building industry, and that goes everywhere from designers and architects to builders and contractors, up through individual kind of subsystems, installers of things like that. So, I think all of that. The textile side is coming. I think it's, at least in the U.S., it's still really, really young, but it's certainly something that is, that is up and coming. So I think those would be a lot of the big ones right now.
I think riding the wave on plastic and soil health is big.
Yeah. Oh, packaging is another really big one. Yeah. A number of us are talking with packaging companies about how do they begin to incorporate in hemp into that. The other thing, and I had mentioned this to Lisa at one point, is because we ultimately want to get these things on the shelves of big box stores and not so big box stores, is targeting the buyers for all of, so they're the trade magazines that they flip through when they're thinking of purchasing for their chain, their store. So I think letting them know that these products are available in the quantity and the prices that work for them.
And those trade shows.
Yes.
Right? Like, I think that's, I always say to people, especially in our industry, if you're developing a concrete hempcrete block, attend every concrete and construction event out there. Yeah. They're your buyers and your suppliers and your manufacturers. And so, utilizing where people already are and organizations that have done a great job at gathering key industry players becomes powerful for getting your message out. So, well, that's awesome. I'd love to continue to work with you guys. I'd love to support. We obviously, like I said, have a lot of content I'd love to share. And then more importantly, I'd love to get our members and the people that have participated in our organization access to what you guys are doing, and then highlighting also their content. So many of them have, articles and peer-reviewed data and, published books. And so it would be great to help connect them as well.
That's great. I noticed a number of the people that have been placing comments are outside the U.S. Mm-hmm. So there also will be an element of this that is international, because as more and more people around the world realize the benefits of these products, it's just, we're going to start seeing it, assuming we figure out the supply chain challenges, we're going to see these things travel back and forth around the world more and more.
Awesome. I love it. Well, for either of you, do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off? And anyone you want to give a shout out to before we sign off?
I hope to meet as many people as possible at the Southern Hemp Expo. I'm not going to be at a booth, so I'll be walking around. I am giving a presentation, I'm moderating one on hemp skyscrapers, which basically is hemp in construction. So there'll be a panel there happening on Friday afternoon. And then the event that we're going to be doing Friday evening, you'll be hearing more about that later.
I love it. Congratulations. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to stay in touch. And Zev, I'll see you there. What about you, Lisa?
I will be at Southern Hemp Expo with Zev. So I look forward to meeting you in person, as well as anyone else who will be there. You could reach out to us ahead of time. Let us know you'll be there, so we're sure to connect. And as Zev referenced, we're going to do a Friday cocktail hour type of event. So you can shoot me an email and I'll be sure to let you know when we have those details sorted out. And Mandy, thank you so much for bringing us on to talk about cooperative advertising and accountability. And yes, as you said, we would really like to collect articles and information from your members. That's what really this is all about. It's about elevating everyone. So just shoot me an email and I will get you the information you need.
Awesome. Well, I want to remind everybody, we host these on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And then so we've got another great interview tomorrow. So please chime in. Like I said, if there's been anything that you've liked or heard today that's valuable, please share the content. Same as Lisa, our goal is really to provide as much information and education as we can and help to make connections as we move the industry forward together. And then also, we've got an awesome meeting on Thursday afternoon. You'll find the details either on our website or the friendsofhemp.org website, where you can register. But it's a Q&A, log in to talk about the technical challenges of hemp fiber production. And it's with Claire Crunk, who is with Trace Tampons or Trace Feminine Care. And so it's an awesome product for high-end textiles, which really takes into consideration
the health,
all of the contaminants, and all of the risks and all of the needs that we need to be aware of. And then more importantly, leading into the discussion that we'll have with Guy Carpenter and Tarot and Hannah, who is also in the technical spinning and textile production, to talk about, where profitability is in textile fiber production. And so I'm excited about those discussions. So I'd love to have you guys on, and Zev, let's continue to work together. I actually met with our website team that is knocking this out, and so we're making progress. Yeah, really exciting. Other than that, anybody else that needs anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Please order a t-shirt to support our industry, moving hemp forward together, on the friendsofhemp.org website, or make a donation. Find all of our details about our seed trials. Other than that, thank you guys. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Let's get together and share information.
Great. Thank you, Mandy.
Okay.
Bye,
Thank you.
Zev.